We are back. We are now at Colonial Hills Elementary in San Antonio, and we are at a community, or not a community garden, we're at an elementary school garden that was put in here, and Harold's going to tell us a little bit about how this came about, but this next segment we're going to be talking about what happens next after we come to sort of an awakening or to a realization that we want to change our lives, beyond just the change in our personal practice. What changes are we going to try and make in the world? And gardens, to me, are a big aspect of that. So tell us a little bit about this garden, Harold, and what we're looking at here, as I enjoy this delicious strawberry that we just harvested over there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, to kind of backtrack a little bit, you know, one of the things that happened with this, you know, whatever you want to call it, awakening that I had, was kind of relying on a group of other people to turn the guns on the bad guys, the corporate bad guys, the government bad guys, whatever, the Rockefellers, Rothschild, any of those guys, that there was going to be a group of people that were just going to turn the guns on them, and all of a sudden we were going to get each like $100,000 and everything was going to be hunky-dory, and we can pull it in and to create communities ourselves. You know, 2012 came and went, 2013 came and went, and 2014, I believe, is, if I can track it back, was around the time when I said, you know what, I can't wait anymore. What am I going to do? How am I going to be the change that I wish to see in the world? And so, you know, my first idea was to put a community garden in my neighborhood, which is just a few blocks from here, walking distance from the school. So I went and knocked on everyone's door in that, you know, around that adjacent property, that empty lot, and everybody was on board except for one guy. I think he was just having a bad day, but we'll just leave him be with that. And so after I got the approval from the neighborhood, I said, well, let me go talk to the principal at my children's school. My children go here. To come and talk to them and see what if we can have, you know, the children take a field trip to this garden that will be up and coming. They can take part in it. They can really have a hand in it. Not only that, they can get their parents involved and whatnot. We can have the whole community involved in this. And so when I came, talked to the principal, she said, well, you need to talk to my two coaches. They just won $20,000 from the Spurs Team Up Challenge, that they were going to make their own garden on site. And I was like, wow, I would love to be a part of that. And so here we are. This is 2 years after the fact, and this school has now grown enough cabbage and carrots to make coleslaw for the entire student body. They grew enough zucchini and squash to give out samples with a little side dipper of ranch to the entire student body. So they have, you know, eaten from the fruits of their labor. They've sown their own seeds. They adopted this information into the curriculum for the school. And this garden is thriving. They've turned it, I think, at least 2 or 3 times. Now they have a monarch garden in the back. You know, that I don't know if you'll be able to see it in the background.
We'll go over there with the camera and take a look at that one.
Yeah, and I recently donated a mandarin orange tree, so now that's got little bitty baby oranges on there that hopefully they'll get juiced up and filled with goodness. But you know, it was that initial step for me to say that I want to do this, and then I was invited to help. And so I came out here when we first built this thing and put these cedar beds together. I was carrying wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow of dirt and mulch to get this thing filled. I've taken part in their, you know, health and wellness fairs for the last 2 years. I missed this last one. I had to work. But I was here with soil, organic seeds, heirloom seeds, for the children to come by and my little table and pick which seed they wanted to plant, put it in the soil, put it in with some good water, and they took it home so they could experience growing things at home and hopefully inspire their parents. And then they have a thriving garden here. So this is where I took the change from sitting on my hands waiting for someone to, you know, turn the guns, come along,
give you money, make it all better.
Yeah, make it all better. And I, you know, and for anybody out there that's really upset that Trump's our president, you know, a different mindset on this would be to show that we can't just rely on our government to solve all our needs. Had Bernie been elected president, I'm sure a ton of people would have just said, you know what, Bernie's gonna handle it all. This guy's my guy. I voted for him. He's gonna change it all. We're gonna be great.
Back to comfortable complacency.
Exactly, and we'd be stuck in the exact same thing because I guarantee that guy is no better. You know, sorry any Bernie fans out there, but my humble opinion is that he's not much better than Trump or any other elected official.
He's not in a position to do any more,
Exactly.
make any changes now.
Exactly. They're just on a soapbox and, you know, they're limited. And I know Trump's doing a lot of things out there would really upset us. But you know what? This school is still adopting the healthy standard of eating here. This school is feeding children from their garden.
Yeah.
This school is part of the Generation for Healthy Alliance for Healthier Generations, and they just achieved Gold Star. So that is an amazing achievement in itself. There's no more soda machines at this school. The children have upped their PE time, so their cardio is up. They're healthier. They're learning about gardening and sustainability in the classrooms. So, you know, and it's not just for the students, the faculty as well. They had to adopt a healthier lifestyle. So this school is absolutely a pillar of change. And I work with the principal here, the coaches, the students, you know. So as much as I can, I try to take part in what is change.
Yeah, and what comes to my mind is the sort of process whereby at the beginning, when you're trying to learn how to break out of the matrix, how to re-educate yourself on all the things you've been lied to, you need the internet. You need the communities of people that are very active on the internet, and that's kind of your world. You kind of dive into that, and eventually a lot of us come out of it, and we're like, well, now what? And this is a great example of what the now what looks like. It is in your community, within walking or biking distance from your house. That is where you make your changes. Some people have grand visions of going out in the world and doing stuff, and those are all great, as long as we also have a community that we're rooted in, because change happens where you are, and this kind of change is a prerequisite of the whole world changing. We're not going to make a policy that all the world has to be good now and it's going to be good. It's more like the policy is eventually going to reflect what the people create themselves in their communities. That's what agorism is all about. That's what community building is all about. It's about making the changes with what little patch of earth we have access to. And so getting involved with local schools is a cool thing, and you're really lucky to actually have a school that's willing to work with you, that wants to put in gardens. A lot of schools, they are like, we don't even have money to, you know,
to think about it.
Yeah.
They don't have the manpower. You know, and if anybody out there wants to try to do, you know, this, I would advise, you know, this has just been my personal experience, to approach the coaches. The coaches aren't stuck with as much red tape as the teachers have to deal with. The teachers leave here, they got to grade papers, they got to go through so much red tape and paper pushing that it hinders them from actually being a part of creating something. You know, this is extracurricular. And the coaches are more likely they're going to be into health and wellness. They're going to want to be teaching the children how to maintain their body and eat right. So why not put a garden on their school grounds and try to implement healthy living through the cafeteria? And I know I'm lucky enough where, and I thought it was going to be a bunch of red tape. I thought we were going to have politicians and government officials saying
insurance.
You can't feed, insurance.
All
You
that
can't
crap.
feed the kids the food that you're growing there because it's unregulated.
it's uninspected by the FDA.
Exactly. But, you know, I didn't think about any of that stuff to a degree that it actually created it. Because you are your thoughts, your belief system. What I did is I left it up to the universe, to Yahweh, God, Buddha, whoever, to allow this change to adapt in an organic and fruitful way. And they have not been hit with any roadblocks.
That's awesome.
As far as that goes. They've been praised. They've been mentioned in many citywide reports, articles, and that was also something that I had part in. Years ago, when I went out to these holistic festivals and, you know, different community events, people always mention to me, Harold, you need to go to the Food Policy Council of San Antonio. And I just kind of put it on the back burner. And eventually I took someone's advice and I went, and I found there was this group of people that volunteer their own time to go out and speak to politicians, councilmen, business people, hold meetings talking about how can we create a policy change, code changes these guys implemented where in San Antonio you can, in your own front or backyard, grow your own food and sell it if you want to.
Really? So that's now become kind of codified into the law.
That is codified. We're working on changing just the verbiage and the differences between agriculture, livestock in your own home.
Yeah.
So there's no difference in a cow and a chicken right now in the words and the way it's written.
Which means that you can't have chickens because it's livestock.
Because of its, yeah, and a cow. And so there's a lot of little details that need to be changed.
Yeah.
And so we're approaching, you know, the higher ups within our government and officials, and we're trying to approach it in that way. Not only that, we're sitting there and we're cultivating a mindset that it can be done. And I'll tell you this, when I first showed up there, the lady that was in charge of the farm to school program or effort, she said they've been hit with all these roadblocks and all these things, and you know, taking ownership of what I know I'm here to do, and you know, I'm a destroyer of roadblocks. And it only happens mentally and through my belief system and my rituals and my practices of changing my frequency and vibration. And this year, since I've been on, you know, I'm not even officially on the board, I just show up to the meetings and I show up where I can and I help when I can. And we've torn down so many roadblocks. This year we've accomplished so much. We had a meeting with the, or they, I say we because that, you know, those are my people. But the Food Policy Council, they represented us and the city of San Antonio, and they went and had a meeting with all the superintendents of each district here in San Antonio. And the mayor just so happened to be there. And so they went and they just unloaded all the ideas, and a few of them were grabbed, as well as other ones from the mayor were adopted. So now we've got a healthy corner store initiative.
Oh,
where
nice.
some of these food deserts, where there's no farmers markets, there's no grocery store that has good organic food, there's no farms where they can go and get this stuff available at an affordable price. So we're going to be working with a pocket of a few different convenience stores and give them refrigeration, allow them to provide local organic food at a good cost.
That's
so we're going to
awesome.
subsidize some of the costs with this, and we have approached no roadblocks with that. The mayor is actually on board with it, and we've even sent out a newsletter to both mayoral candidates because there's an election going on right now, and each one is saying they're willing to work with the Food Policy Council of San Antonio to get these things enacted and implemented into our system.
Yeah.
So it was just taking those action steps of getting out there and walking, getting my hands dirty, going out there and speaking to the right people, showing them that I'm invested in my community, in my neighborhood, in my city.
Yeah.
I mean, San Antonio, if anybody out there doesn't know, San Antonio is the 7th largest city in our nation. So we've got 1 million plus and 3 million with the surrounding areas. So there's a huge ability to influence a ton of people if we can just speak to the right people that have maybe a larger soapbox or just an avenue or resources to get it done. And I believe you me, it's happening in abundance in my world, and so I don't pay attention to all the stuff that's going on externally. I focus on myself and my home and what I do as a human being and how I can bring as much light into anybody's world as I can.
Yeah, and that, you know, to get back to your story, we were talking earlier about, you know, this process you undergo, and then you develop a personal practice. Can you talk a little bit more about some of the other things you've done in the community? Like, I know you were leading meditations for a really long time.
Yeah.
And there's another example would be the job you have now. Like, you found a
Absolutely.
job that everyone's still got to work, everyone's still got to make money, and you've got some cool